Welcome to the All Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Steven Min. I'm joined by my star producer and co-host, Chris Brito. Our 2023 NBA Finals matchup is here. The Denver Nuggets, the Miami Heat. We got a 1 seed. We got an 8 seed. We have a lot to talk about with this matchup. Before we get to all that, Chris, my friend, I hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend. Hope you got to enjoy a little Game 7 on Monday night. How are you?
Hey Stevie, can't complain. We've been waiting for a little while longer than we expected with the Heat finally finishing off the Celtics. Really impressive job by the Celtics to make it to a game 7, but ultimately I think to many people that'll be a disappointment. Just because the Celtics went in as the 2nd seed and the Heat 8th seed somehow managed to win this and come through. And now they're facing the Nuggets, who I think will obviously be the biggest test for them. That being said, I think the Miami Heat will beat the Denver Nuggets in 6 or 7 games.
Wow. Wow. All right. Well, yeah, we got to make you make the pick. 6 or 7. What's it going to be? 6 would be in Miami. 7 would be in Denver. Just
6.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say Denver. I'm gonna say Denver takes it in 6. I just think they have just too much firepower, and we saw, this Miami team look hobbled with Jimmy Butler wincing basically in every play. Gabe Vincent's been questionable in a bunch of these games. I understand Tyler Hero might make a return in potential game 3, but I'm not sure if he's going to make a difference. I just think this Denver team is they're so healthy. Like there's no problems right now with them. They've so much firepower. And I just think the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, is going to show everybody once again that he is one of the great players of this century.
Yeah, I mean he's an incredible talent, and I think the world is finally catching up to seeing really, the United States really catching up to who he is as a incredible player. Um, that being said, the Heat have just shown throughout these playoffs that they're a team that they can win in many different ways and prove you wrong in many different ways.
They're
And
going to have to put up big time points, which they can, as you said,
they,
they can.
they can and they will. And I think to me the biggest X factor in this whole series is going to be Jamal Murray. Like obviously Jokic is going to do what he needs to do, but I think the series depends on whether Murray can average more than 24, 25 points a game and really like make the Heat pay for what they're going to do with Jokic. I think Jokic obviously is going to get a lot of the attention, but Murray is the key to all of this.
Yeah, I think for me, it's going to have to be, maybe a guy like Gabe Vincent on Miami. You just need another 20-point score in this series, somebody who could do it efficiently. It's just crazy to me how, Caleb Martin is doing this. Jimmy Butler is doing this. Miami was not a bad scoring team in the regular season. They were the worst scoring team in the regular season, 109.7 per game, which you think, okay, that's not that bad, right? That's dead last in the entire NBA this year. They were the worst scoring team in the entire league. And it's just they flipped. And it's not like they're putting up big points. Like what did they put up 103 in game 7? They're grinding teams out and they're hitting timely shots. And we've not seen any team be able to grind out Denver so far. We've seen Denver just do whatever they want. They're putting up 65, 75 points in a half. And now we have, can this Miami defense slow down or stop what looks like this unmovable object in the Denver Nuggets?
So, who have the Nuggets beat in that for you like is a really battlegrounded like tested defense? Let's go over it. Let's go
Well,
Timberwolves.
I thought the Lakers were playing much better defense in the last couple months. I
Mhm.
mean, Anthony Davis, to me, played really well defensively, and he was just still no match for Joker. And obviously, there aren't a ton of great defenses. I think, as you're probably pointing out right now, the Miami Heat defense is going to be better than anything Denver has faced. I'm not trying to say that's not the case. I just think great offense usually beats great defense, and that's why I'm picking Denver.
So normally I would agree,
Yeah.
but I think there is something to the playoffs and hitting another immovable object, which is the Miami Heat. And I think the Miami Heat just like figure out ways to chip out your best forms of offense. And I think, you know, I think what we're seeing in these playoffs is like it's a lot about what the role players bring outside of what the stars. Like you just mentioned Caleb Martin, but like, you know, Aaron Gordon's gonna have a big game. He's gonna probably be the one guarding Jimmy Butler most of the time. And, even guys like, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, they're gonna play big roles. I think, especially for someone like Kentavious, who will also probably get minutes at Butler, this whole team presents many different challenges that the Nuggets haven't faced yet. And I think, the Nuggets also face like a hobbled LeBron James and a hobbled, Anthony Davis played well. I'm not going to say it, but, he has his own issues.
Yeah.
So, and I just don't think the Nuggets have played anyone really at the level that have met them. Like the Suns, maybe, but the
I
Suns.
thought the Suns were the second best team in basketball, and they basically beat them pretty easily.
Say that again.
I thought the Phoenix Suns were the second best team going into the playoffs, and the Nuggets basically threw them around for 6 games, and I felt
Well,
like it wasn't
I
even that
think
close.
I think the Suns also were a victim of a team that was put together last minute, and so
Yeah,
were the Lakers. Like the Nuggets' best asset right now is their continuity across the last 4 or 5 seasons. Where
that
it's
might be the same case with Miami, though.
right, right, right. I'm not, and that's not that's not a vulnerability. I think that's actually probably the best thing about them.
Yeah,
Uh, and I'm so happy for both these teams because they both deserve all the flowers in the world for sort of like committing to their program instead of like the Celtics have also committed to their program too, but I think that's a whole other set of worms. We'll probably get into the final thoughts. But I don't know. I really feel strongly that the Heat can beat the Nuggets. And the more I think about it, the more I feel confident in that.
now, are you giving the Heat? Obviously, they deserve their flowers. The Heat. Are you giving them credit for turning it up a notch, or are you kind of downplaying their regular season, saying they were always kind of this team? They just didn't really take the regular season seriously.
I think it's the latter. And I think, as you know, we can't take the regular season as we can take it as a pretext, but it's certainly not the conclusion of what the regular season is. It's like the whole thing is a marathon, right? Like you're going to run your race differently at the beginning than you do at the end. And so I think the Heat sort of embody that where they've known like, okay, like the beginning of the season, well, for the regular season, we're going to just steady it. And then toward the end, we're going to ramp it up. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. I mean, no one saw it coming.
Right.
No one did. But it's probably not a coincidence that like they're playing so well right now.
I really thought this formula was exactly why I picked the Clippers to be the NBA champs, because I believe they had the wings and the horses and the depth to say, we're not really going to take the regular season seriously. We're going to have everybody ready to go in April, May, June. And it didn't happen that way. And the Heat show me that the Clipper strategy is possible. You just need the right guys. And it starts with Jimmy Butler, who is going to go down as one of the hardest working, most determined athletes we've seen.
Oh yeah. And not only that, he's just so confident. And I think you can see that oozing into the players and like look at Caleb Martin.
Yeah. Jaylen
Like
Martin
who
was
saw
like
that coming? I didn't see
Charlotte,
it coming.
nothing in Charlotte. And, in the regular season, he averaged 9 points a game. And now he looks like a legit starting wing in a league that everyone needs wings.
Oh yeah. I,
Okay. So we made our predictions. I talked about, Gabe Vincent, being my X factor. I also think Caldwell Pope on the Denver side is going to be an X factor because he's going to have to hit his timely shots like he has been all playoffs. He's also going to, as you said, need to guard Jimmy Butler. Him, Aaron Gordon, and my guy Christian Brown are probably going to be the three guys kind of guarding Jimmy most of the time.
Mhm.
And we'll see because Jimmy was wincing. Let's see. It's a 3 days off enough to get him ready to go in Denver. It's a quick turnaround for the Heat, right? And now you're going up to the altitude. So I think Denver is just going to fast pace blitz them, and we'll see whose pace controls the game. Are they be able to go slower? That's what Miami wants. Are they going to be able to go fast and transition? That's what Denver wants. And that's how, to me, the first two games of the series will be determined.
So normally I would say, yeah, that the altitude matters, but the Heat are one of the best conditioned teams in the NBA. And then
They're
number
playing a
two,
lot of games in a very short amount of time.
it's true, but you got to think about it this way: like the Heat in Boston territory played as if they were on a fresh set of legs. So I don't
Fair.
dismiss like that aspect of their conditioning in terms of the short turnaround. I think if anything, I feel like that would help the Heat, not hurt them. I think they're going to be in a game mode, and I think the Nuggets being away from basketball from that long, I think kind of hurts a little bit. We saw that happen with our Mets
We
when
did.
they went to the World Series and they had a lot of rest.
Rest or rust? That's always the big question.
And I think those are, who, I think the continuity is going to really help the Heat. I don't think it's going to hurt them, and I think I have a bold prediction. I think the Heat win Game 1.
Wow. Wow. I'm gonna say Denver wins game one. It's gonna be a great series, I think. I don't think either one of us expected to be a short series. And just give credit to both these teams. It's nice to see some new faces in the NBA finals getting some spotlight for sure. The old face in the finals is actually in the news today. Bob Meyers and his Golden State Warriors. Bob Meyers stepping down as the president and GM of the Warriors. And Chris, obviously, when we saw that they were scheduling a press conference for Tuesday, a couple hours, 24 hours ago, I kind of thought this meant the end. And it looks like that's the case. We don't really know the details yet. Did it stop because of money? Did it stop because he doesn't really want to be the guy to have to break up this Warrior dynasty? Is it because he's just tired of the job? And we may not know those answers until the 7 books are written about this Warrior dynasty, which I'm sure you and I will read a couple of those. But for 2023 and beyond, what does it mean for this Warrior roster with Bob Meyers stepping down?
I think it really depends on who's going to replace him. I think if it's someone who sort of knows his system a little, the system that was implemented, I think there's a chance that the Warriors do at least another run. But it's tough. I think there's a case to be made that with him leaving, the team is going to turn a new leaf and find a new way to build around Steph Curry for the remainder of what he has with the Warriors. So I don't know, man. I think they're going to end up, I don't know. I think they're going to end up moving on from Clay and Dre, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think this makes it easier to kind of say we're moving on. Draymond Green has a $27.5 million player option for next season. I think the Warriors would be happy if he picked it up and they could say, okay, we're hitting the reset button. We're gonna figure out how to make Draymond, and Jordan Poole get over that situation. But Draymond admitted that was a big problem during the season, and he felt like he couldn't really be the leader he's been in years past because of that incident. And to me, when you hear that combined with him saying, I'm going to get paid, and, now the guy who is not only drafted him, but has given him his last contract is walking out the door a few weeks before that decision needs to be made, it's looking very difficult for me to see him coming back. I mean, obviously, we talk about Clay as well, but Clay's under contract for $43 million next year. So he's not going anywhere for at least a year. Poole's about to start a max contract extension. You got Curry making money into the 50s. They just extended Wiggins a few months ago. And yes, the cap is going up, but the cap new rules are going to make it so hard to do anything if you're in warrior level territory with the cap. And so I think what they're going to do is they're going to let Draymond walk if this number gets too out of hand. And they might use a Kaminga, a Moody, maybe Poole's money and all their picks and say, we're going to go try to upgrade, a wing spot, a power forward spot, something to bring some new life into the team and, build a new big three around Curry, Clay, and this new player. And it'll be fascinating to see who that player is. I don't know who it is, but
You want me to tell you who I think would be a
the
great?
Warriors are going to look different.
You want me to tell you who I think would be a great fit?
That sounds great.
What do the Warriors need more than anything?
You tell me. I don't know.
I'm asking you.
I I think they just need like a 26-year-old version of Draymond, and they'll be fine.
I don't know. I think more so than the Draymond thing, they need someone with an edge. And I think
Okay,
that,
that's
that
Draymond. But yeah,
right.
yeah. No, I get what you mean.
I actually think, and I know you're gonna give me you're gonna hate me for this, but I actually think Julius makes a lot of sense there.
They would not take him.
No, I know, but here's why I think he makes a lot of sense. He's someone who can like drive to the basket, get rebounds, get toughness in the interior.
Yeah,
Like, and he operates in different spaces than those other three guys do, you
yeah.
know. And
I
I think
think they just need somebody tough on the defensive end and somebody who can kind of be a secondary ball hand, like playmaker, which is the two things Draymond does really well. And
right, but he has such like specific tool set, like where are you gonna find a guy like that?
yeah, no, I mean, if the, I mean, I'm trying to think what that deal would even be. Like, would the Knicks have interest in a pool for Randall's swap? I think both teams say no to that.
I mean, I'd probably like consider a Clay for Randall swap.
I don't know if that's crazy. I don't think the Warriors would do that, but
No, listen, I don't think so either. I'm just putting it out there as like,
I don't think the Warriors would trade Clay based on what he's done for the organization, based on the injury. I think also his value is down now. I don't think they would trade him. But it's an interesting thought. It's a thought I had not thought before, and I knew you were going to say it. And I was ready to blast you for it, and now I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, like I don't think they would do it, but I don't think it's insane. It's like there are worse ways to construct the Warrior roster next season.
all right, I'll take it.
All right, let's get to our final thoughts right after this. All right, Chris, final thoughts time here. Obviously, the Boston Celtics are not going back to the finals. They lose in game 7. They nearly had the first ever 3-0 comeback in NBA history. But I think one of the big reasons why they didn't was Jaylen Brown, who was really awful in this game, Chris. He had, 8 turnovers. We kind of noticed 2 years ago, he can't dribble the ball in transition, in space, anywhere where a defender can poke it away. And you can't really unsee that once you start looking for it. And now he's as an all NBA second team player, he's going to be eligible for 55-60 million dollars in the next few seasons once his extension comes up next summer. I'm wondering if it makes sense to cash him in and try to see if you can upgrade for an older superstar in Damian Lillard. A Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard, I think it makes so much sense for both sides. Obviously, with the salaries, Lillard makes a little more, so you'd have to throw in a guy like maybe Marcus Smart or Malcolm Brogdon, but one of those guys is not going to have a ton of minutes if Lillard is your point guard anyway. So I just think it makes a lot of sense. Pair Lillard with Tatum and just see where you can go. And then if you're Portland, you can have a really good, one of the best wings in the NBA in Jaylen Brown to go with Simons and this number 3 pick. What do you think?
I actually don't. I don't think that's going to happen for the Celtics. I think I'm for especially for Portland. I think Portland wants to build around Dame as opposed to like ship him out. And so I think what I do see happening, Kevin O'Connor of the Ringer proposed this other idea about trading that number 3 pick in Anthony Simons for Jaylen Brown, which I don't think is a bad idea because you really do get everything. The caveat being that what are the Celtics going to do, being an Eastern Conference Finals team with that number 3 pick? I guess you could toss it and see what else you can get with it, but I see that happening more so than Dame going to the Celtics.
I still don't think Portland's going to trade Dame unless Dame goes, get me out of there.
Right.
And it's a really fine line because I think we all kind of know this Dame construction is not going to work in Portland. Like they're not going to win a championship with the limited resources they have. At the same time, it's probably one of the hardest places in the NBA to get a star to want to stay. And so to treat Dame as loyal and as well as you can could help you down the road for the next 20, 30 years. Like players still talk about how cold it was when the Celtics traded Isaiah Thomas, right? After all he did for the team. So it's a fine line. I would do it. I would move Dame and I would explain to him that like this isn't gonna we can't build a team around you. We gotta go young and we're gonna go put you in a space where you're arguably going to be the biggest favorite in the NBA or at least in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and I think with Dame, I think Dame needs to really look at himself in the mirror. Not himself, but his career in the mirror. If he doesn't want to stay in Portland, then so be it.
I think he does.
I think he does also. Um, I think the one thing with him is that his time is sort of running out in terms of like his prime. He's probably on the downer side of his prime now.
33 in July.
And if he wants to really win a ring, he needs to start moving this year. Or I think this is probably the year he has to do it.
Agreed.
He may not care. He may not care, honestly, and that's fine.
I think he cares. I definitely think he cares. And, I was kind of hoping that they would win the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes, right? And you could put Lillard with Wemby and you could say, all right, let's see what this is. But now third pick, if it's Brandon Miller, he might need 2 years to become the player people think it could be. If it's Scoot, who knows how he, Simons and Lillard backcourt would work when they're all great scoring first guards who don't play much defense. So it's a tough situation for Portland. I don't really know how they're going to turn it around without some big move. And to me, this would be the big move.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm on board if if David can get a ring, but it'll be hard to root for him in the Celtics jersey.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on the All Hoops podcast. We have a big game 1 on Thursday. We'll be back next week to talk more NBA action.